Picture this, a February night in 2016. Theaters across America are packed. Not for a superhero blockbuster with a $300 million budget and a decade of build-up. Not for an Oscar contender. Not for a guaranteed franchise. For a movie that nearly every major studio refused to make. A movie that was shelved for 11 years. A movie that its own studio tried to kill weeks before release. A movie where the lead actor bet his entire career, and almost his sanity, on a single, ridiculous gamble. Deadpool opened to $132 million on its opening weekend. It became the highest-grossing R-rated film in history at that time. And the man behind the mask, Ryan Reynolds, had been trying to make it happen since 2004. 12 years. 11 years of silence. Countless rejections. One career almost completely written off. This is the story of the man who refused to disappear. Vancouver, 1976. The Reynolds boys. Ryan Rodney Reynolds was born on October 23, 1976 in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. He was the youngest of 4 boys in a working-class family that was, by his own repeated admission, intense. His father, James Chester Reynolds, was a food wholesaler who had previously worked as a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer. He was a tough man, disciplined, physically imposing, and emotionally reserved. Ryan has spoken openly about the complicated relationship he had with his dad, describing a household where expressing vulnerability wasn't exactly on the menu. His mother, Tammy, balanced the household and worked retail. She was the warmth in a home that could run cold. Ryan was the youngest, the kid who had to figure out how to survive 3 older brothers. If you've ever had older siblings who delighted in tormenting you, you already understand Ryan's childhood training ground. He learned early that humor was armor, that if you could make someone laugh, you could disarm them. Diffuse tension. Buy yourself time. That lesson would define his entire life. Growing up in East Vancouver, Ryan wasn't a standout student. He wasn't an obvious star, but he had something. A restless energy, a sharp tongue, and an uncanny ability to read a room. The accidental actor Ryan Reynolds didn't grow up dreaming of Hollywood. He didn't tape Oscar acceptance speeches into a diary. Acting found him sideways, the way most good things in life do. At Kitsilano Secondary School in Vancouver, Reynolds began acting in school productions and discovered something unexpected. He was good at it. Better than good. The stage gave him a place where his natural instincts, quick wit, timing, physical comedy, could be channeled into something useful. At 15 years old, he landed a role on the Canadian teen soap opera Hillside, later broadcast in the United States on Nickelodeon as 15. It was a small show, a regional production, hardly the launching pad of legends, but it was work, real, paid, professional work, and Reynolds was hooked. He moved through his teenage years with growing conviction. This was what he wanted to do, not as a backup plan, not as a hobby, as a life. When he finished high school, he briefly enrolled at Kwantlen University College, but dropped out. The pull of acting was too strong. He packed what he had and moved to Los Angeles, a city that eats young dreamers for breakfast, and began knocking on doors. The Invisible Man. Los Angeles in the late 1990s had no particular interest in Ryan Reynolds. He landed small parts, a guest appearance here, a supporting role there, nothing that stuck, nothing that announced him. In 1998, he appeared in the short-lived ABC sitcom Two Guys, a Girl and a Pizza Place, later retitled Two Guys and a Girl. It ran for 4 seasons. It kept him employed. It kept him in the game. But it didn't make him a star. During this period, Reynolds has spoken candidly about something that people rarely associate with his grinning, wisecracking public persona: severe anxiety. Generalized anxiety disorder that, by his own account, had been with him since childhood. The son of a demanding father. The youngest in a household built on toughness. The performer who used humor to survive. The anxiety didn't disappear when he booked jobs. If anything, it intensified. Every audition was a reminder that he was away from having nothing. He watched contemporaries get the big roles. He watched others break through. He went out for parts and didn't get them. He had moments where the industry simply looked through him, as if he were furniture rather than a contender. He has described waking up at 3 a.m. in cold sweats, using work, constant, relentless work, as a coping mechanism, creating characters as a way of escaping the noise in his own head. For most of the late 1990s and early 2000s, Ryan Reynolds was a journeyman actor. Competent, charming, occasionally hilarious, but never quite the guy the industry wanted to bet on. Then came Van Wilder, and everything changed, slightly. In 2002, Reynolds starred in National Lampoon's Van Wilder, a raucous college comedy that found a devoted audience, particularly on home video. Reynolds was magnetic in it. Funny, charismatic, effortlessly watchable. But Hollywood looked at Van Wilder and saw a comedy actor. A party movie guy. A guy you call when you need someone funny, but not someone serious. What followed was years of movies that performed inconsistently. Blade Trinity in 2004, the Amityville Horror remake in 2005, Waiting in 2005. Some worked, many didn't. Critics were unkind. Box office was unpredictable. And hovering over all of it, like a ghost that refused to go away, was a comic book character named Wade Wilson. Reynolds had been attached to Deadpool since 2004. The merc with a mouth. The fourth wall-breaking, irreverent, morally complicated anti-hero who made no apologies and answered to no one. Reynolds didn't just want to play this character. He was this character. Every sarcastic defense mechanism. Every joke deployed against despair. Every manic grin hiding something harder underneath. For 11 years, the project went nowhere. And then, in 2009, Reynolds experienced the single biggest professional catastrophe of his career. In 2009, Ryan Reynolds appeared as Wade Wilson in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Fans of the comics were cautiously excited. Reynolds himself was thrilled. Deadpool, finally, on screen. What they got was something fans still struggle to discuss calmly. The character was transformed beyond recognition. His mouth, his defining feature, the source of his legendary name, Merc with a mouth, was literally sewn shut. The character bore almost no resemblance to the source material. The internet reacted with fury. Reynolds was publicly diplomatic. Privately, he was devastated. Years of fighting to get this character right, and the result was something he himself has acknowledged was a missed opportunity. The film received mixed reviews. The Deadpool portrayal was nearly universally panned. For many actors, that would have been the end of it. The studio would have moved on. The character would have been forgotten. Ryan Reynolds is not most actors. The leak that saved everything for years after X-Men Origins, Reynolds lobbied Fox to make a proper Deadpool film. A rated R, faithful to the comics' fourth wall-smashing film. Fox was skeptical. The superhero landscape was dominated by family-friendly blockbusters. An R-rated comic book film was considered financial suicide. The project stalled and stalled. Then, in 2014, test footage from a Deadpool film leaked online. The footage showed Deadpool in action. Irreverent, violent, hilarious, and completely unlike anything in superhero cinema. The fan response was seismic. The clip went viral in a way that studios could not ignore. The demand was overwhelming and undeniable. Fox greenlit the film. With one of the smallest budgets in the modern superhero era, approximately $58 million, compared to the $250 million spent on standard Marvel blockbusters. Reynolds and the creative team knew they had almost no margin for error. They also knew they had built something special. February 12, Everything Changes. Deadpool opened on February 12, 2016. Its opening weekend gross, $132.4 million domestically. Its eventual worldwide gross over $783 million, on a $58 million budget. It became the highest grossing R-rated film of all time, a record it held until 2019 when Joker surpassed it. Critics celebrated what they called a reinvention of the superhero genre. Audiences celebrated what they had always known existed, a performer who had been waiting 11 years for a role that fit him like a second skin. Ryan Reynolds was 40 years old. It had taken him 25 years in the industry to get here. The empire Reynolds built, success in Hollywood, is a strange thing. It doesn't erase the past, but it does open doors that were previously bolted shut. After Deadpool, Reynolds became one of the most commercially powerful actors in the world. Deadpool 2 in 2018 grossed over $785 million worldwide. The character became a cultural institution. But Reynolds didn't stop at acting. In 2018, he acquired a stake in Aviation Gin. His marketing approach, dry, self-deprecating, wickedly funny, transformed the brand. In 2020, Diageo acquired Aviation Gin in a deal worth up to $610 million. Reynolds made a reported tens of millions from the transaction. He co-founded Maximum Effort, a production and marketing company known for its fast, culturally savvy advertising campaigns. The company became celebrated in the advertising world for work that felt genuinely funny rather than corporate. In 2020, Reynolds and actor Rob McElhenney purchased Wrexham AFC, a Welsh football club competing in non-league football. The story of their ownership became the subject of the Disney documentary series Welcome to Wrexham, which premiered in 2022 and won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Unstructured Reality Program. Under their stewardship, Wrexham earned promotion back to the English Football League for the first time in 15 years. In 2021, Reynolds starred in Free Guy, a film that showed his range beyond Deadpool, playing a gentle, earnest bank teller who discovers he's an NPC in a video game. The film was a critical and commercial hit, grossing over $331 million. Deadpool and Wolverine arrived in 2024, marking Ryan Reynolds' full integration into the Marvel Cinematic Universe alongside Hugh Jackman. The film broke multiple records, becoming the highest-grossing R-rated film ever made, surpassing its predecessor. The man behind the mask off-screen, Reynolds has been open about his mental health journey in ways that few major Hollywood stars risk. He has spoken about his anxiety in interviews and on social media, using his platform to destigmatize conversations about mental health. He has been married to actress Blake Lively since 2012. They have 4 children together. By all public accounts, he is deeply invested in family life and equally vocal about the chaos, love, and comedy that comes with it. His public persona, The relentlessly witty, self-mocking, endlessly quotable Ryan Reynolds of Twitter and advertising campaigns is real. And yet it is also, as Reynolds himself has noted, a carefully maintained version of himself. The wit is real. The anxiety behind the wit is also real. Both things can be true at once. The long game here is what the story of Ryan Reynolds actually is. It's not a story about talent finding its moment. Plenty of talented people never find theirs. It's not a story about luck. Luck doesn't sustain an 11-year campaign to make a single film. It's a story about a kid from East Vancouver who used humor as a survival mechanism, who carried that mechanism into an industry that told him repeatedly he wasn't quite what they were looking for, and who refused, stubbornly and somewhat miraculously, to accept that verdict. It's a story about knowing who you are so completely that no amount of rejection can convince you otherwise. It's a story about a man who looked at a sewn, shut mouth on a movie screen and thought, that's not the end of this. That's the beginning. Ryan Reynolds spent a quarter-century becoming the person the world now knows. And the thing about that particular journey, the slow one, the hard one, the one with the 11-year gap and the leaked test footage and the 58 million gamble, is that it produced something no overnight success story ever can. Depth, gratitude, and the absolute certainty that nothing worth having comes without the willingness to wait for it. The mask came off in 2016, and what was underneath wasn't a superhero. It was just a kid from Vancouver who never stopped believing he had something to say.